Good morning. It is Friday, October 27th, 2023. It is 9:28 a.m. This is a hybrid meeting, and this is the continuation of the Board of County Commissioners 2024 through 2025 biennium budget deliberations. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110. For our public virtual attendants, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have interim county manager Robin Campbell. Joining us via Zoom, we have assistant county manager Rob Gilder. And present with us today, we have the budget team. And hopefully today will be the last day of budget deliberations.
Yes.
If not, then we'll be having that conversation at the end of the day. Robin, anything you'd like to add before?
Yes, just what is becoming our standard morning announcement regarding technology. We are having trouble with our equipment for this room, and that results in a live feed that is occasionally choppy and hard to understand. We are recording all of these meetings. And the recordings are coming out okay. So you are able to watch the recordings. We have them posted by the following business day. And then for county officials and staff, we have distributed a link so you can join and watch live. I also want to announce that this morning we'll be having a special visitor. When he arrives sometime between 10:30 and 11, we'll take a short break. But otherwise, we'll have a working lunch today and be hopefully done by 4 or 4:30 this afternoon with the budget. That's the hope.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, we're gonna jump right into it.
Yep.
All right, so we did make it through all of maintenance and all of policy. We have to circle back now and do some fine tuning. So the first thing is to talk about the maintenance level. So we went through the maintenance level at least 2 or 3 times together. Maintenance level is beginning budget adjustments, meaning we've removed one-time items from departments' budgets and offices' budgets. We've made salary adjustments. We've updated the rates based on the presentations that the departments and offices came before you, or departments came before you. We've talked about debt, being able to align our budget with what's anticipated in our debt expenses. We've talked about maintenance level grants where the revenues match the expenses, where we're getting revenues in. Maintenance level, we've talked about technical changes where this is accounting strings and just technical changes within our accounting system. And we talked about revenue adjustments, and this is aligning the revenues that are coming into the county with what's being projected. If it has anything to do with the general fund, we've outlined that cleanly, and we've also incorporated any revenue adjustments inside of the model that Robin has. And then we have maintenance level that has to do with postage increases and things of that sort. And so if there aren't any specific questions, I'm gonna ask for a vote on maintenance level as a whole. If there are, we can pull out those questions and discuss them. If not, then a vote when you guys are ready.
And tell me about, you're asking for that vote if we're going to, I thought you said we were gonna go over a couple of issues that we had not clarified.
So the issues that we have not clarified are in policy, and we're gonna circle back on those, but in maintenance, I believe we didn't have any issues, and so we're asking for a vote on that.
Okay.
So this packet that we had walked through quickly, but you've reviewed it all, and we're asking you to approve maintenance level as a whole.
So let me clarify one other thing then. So the board may have been split on certain issues, but we're not gonna worry about that particular vote. We're kind of voting on the final determination of what we went over here, regardless if one of us opposed or supported or
Right.
whatever.
And this is specifically maintenance level. This is not
Okay.
policy level.
We didn't have any, I don't think, split votes on maintenance.
You
that I
really
recall.
didn't.
No, didn't we? I just don't remember either. That's why I asked that question. I mean, if I was supposed,
This was
were we supposed to
Monday.
remember,
Yeah.
well, we didn't like this and we're supposed to say so or not.
Yeah,
Okay,
Right.
but,
so we're good.
right, as Nicole has said, this is for the most part technical adjustments. It's the indirect rates, it's the adjustment of personnel costs for current personnel. It's maintenance level is what it would cost to continue doing business today with current staff at current service levels.
And does that cover those FTE positions that we made a determination were best funded from another revenue source other than, say, general fund?
That is policy level
Okay, good enough.
choices.
Good, okay. I'm ready.
All right,
Okay, if you're ready, I'm gonna ask for a vote on maintenance levels.
so 1, 2, 3 on maintenance. Woohoo.
And we don't have to like
And now
that
we
we're
don't
voting.
have,
We don't
that's
have
right,
to
you don't
like
have to
this.
like it.
It's just a legal requirement. Okay.
That'll tell us that it's all right.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into policy where we're gonna circle back and have answers for you on some of the issues that might have come up on some of the packet. So from our notes, the first packet to circle back to is policy level grants.
That is not the same as policy level. Right?
All the different
Just
sections.
a little confusing.
Okay,
but
so
yes,
now I
policy
gotta
level
dig.
grants. And it would be number 10 then if it's electronic.
I got it. Got it. You know what I'm gonna depend on for a minute rather than waste time looking for that, cause I've got it behind them. I'm just gonna say, well, I kinda remember mostly, I want to hear about it. If I have to look it up, I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, so, on maintenance level grants, line 5 was a follow-up. And the question here was, the revenue is, stated at $89,000 for a FEMA grant as a placeholder, but there's no expenditure activity. So we work with emergency management, to find out what's going on with the grants that are going within that department. And we've worked with the financial staff there, to get just a little bit into accounting. The way that the department organizes its grants activity is to hold it in an accounting code separate from expenditure or revenue activity that is not associated with grants. And so we've asked them to show us a balancing of the revenue that's going into this account code, which would be grant revenue, and the expenses that are going into that account code, and they balance. And so they're asking for this revenue activity and not the expenditures, because the expenditures are tied to positions that are already coded to that accounting code. So the way that the expenditures work when it comes to personnel related to a grant is that department has asked for grant revenue to pay for these positions. These positions are on our books. The revenue that comes in is reoccurring grant activity that we can rely on because we apply for it every year. It constantly comes into the county. And so they don't need to ask for expenditure activity again. They're just bringing it to your attention that they've applied for this grant again. They're anticipating that it's going to come in again. And so that's when you see these lines, you might just see a revenue line and no expenditures, or you'll see a revenue line and less expenditures. So it's the balancing of the entire account code. All the grant revenue is coming in with the expenditure activity that's already in there.
Okay, so this is 89,000.
Yes.
And it's not really here yet, but we're pretty sure, I mean, it's a consistent revenue source that's been coming in for years.
Yes.
And so we think that it is still, and is that legal to bet on the come, so to speak?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Yes, it is.
good enough.
So the revenue source we anticipate will be available for us.
And why did we hold it up at this point? Why didn't we just go ahead and, was there a question?
It might have been my question. I was asking just why is there revenue and no expenditure? Why don't they need the
Yeah,
expenditure
but
to?
now she's explaining.
Just
Okay,
explaining it.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with it. I just want to make sure that I understood it and that it was being done correctly and you guys are comfortable with how, whatever is being done.
Yes. And so, cool. So then there will be other emergency management lines within here, and I'll say that is the same example, the reason for why it doesn't match exactly on this line. So that's line 5, so I'll need a vote for that
I
one.
need to, but thank you.
If you're happy, I'm happy.
Okay?
We're good.
All right, three thumbs up, okay. So then, the next line that we needed to circle back on are 7 and 8, which is on page 2. And this was expense authority, in Public Works, where they're saying they're getting a grant, but we don't see the grant revenue on this line. And so we talked to Public Works to figure out what's going on with this line, and this is a grant through ecology. They put the grant revenue on a different change request. They put it on a revenue change request. So we went into that revenue change request to see if the revenue is there. It is there. They decided to put the grant expenditures on this change request, so you don't see the whole in one,
On one sheet.
on one sheet.
This is the opposite of the other one.
This is the opposite of the other one.
Okay.
So we'll work with departments and offices going forward to make sure that the grant revenue and the expenses are together and not on a different change request, so it's clearer in the future. If you guys have any other questions. Okay, I'll ask for a vote.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
asking for more work, but when you're asking 3 commissioners that are dissociated from these details to review lines, it's helpful when it's together. I mean, you guys did a great job of putting all the, the lines, in most cases, they're all grouped together.
Right.
Any efficiency like that helps us to understand.
Moving into our new system, we're taking some of these concerns that you guys are having now, and we even have within when we're working on it, to be able to fix that when we move into the ERP, to make it a lot cleaner to see, especially the reports that are generated from the data that's put in.
So support those ERP positions.
That's what I mean.
I heard that, Nicole. It's very subtle. Very clever.
It's gonna be June of next year.
All right, so a vote for line 7 and 8. Thank you, 3 thumbs up. Okay. Okay, and then the other follow-up was for the last page, 3 of 3, line 12. It happens to do with public health. And so this again was, why is the grant revenue higher than the expenses? Yesterday, David came in front of you and spoke about all his changes to his positions. And so this is in line with what you have approved yesterday concerning the positions and where it sits in the fund. We've also talked to the financial staff there to make sure that the revenue that they're saying is going to come in to 1,500 is offset by the correct expenses. So we're comfortable here in the finance office that this is not outside of what needs to be done.
And their explanation is actually similar to the one that you heard for emergency management, where they have the costs in an org, but not necessarily tied to the grant. So it does balance out.
Very good.
Great, thank you. So that's all for the grants.
Another one down.
Okay, so the next packet's gonna be Healthy Lakes packet.
And it's just straight policy?
Yes, policy level Healthy Lakes.
Oh, Healthy Lakes, got it.
Healthy Lakes.
Okay. Okay.
The one straight policy will most likely be last. Okay, so to get into the Healthy Lakes packet, Healthy Lakes packet was grouped so that we can see what's going on with the LNDs. This packet is doing 2 things. One is transferring the budget from Public Works into environmental health. The other is it adjusting any of the operational expenses that were agreed upon with the LMDs. And the third thing is to establish indirects. So the question when we looked at this was, why is there $27,000 in general fund for the indirects? What is this an increase? And the answer is no, it's not an increase. In our accounting system, there is an option to mark something as one time. If you mark it at one time, when you start the new budget process, it's not there. The indirect costs are marked as one time. So this is reestablishing the baseline, and it's not an increase.
That's just reflecting the board's decision that it was something we would try to do if we could afford to do.
That is correct.
Really shouldn't be.
It should have, it should have been in maintenance as well. I think the changing of, because it's doing three things in this packet where it's moving the expenses from public works to environmental, like that mixed together, and that's another one of those efficiencies we'll consider.
Would we still have had that opportunity if it was in maintenance level, Rob?
So currently, from what I understand, we are already decided, we have decided in the past and currently to pay for the indirects related to L&Ds. This is keeping that decision.
And this is just for Long Lake and Lawrence, Long and Lawrence.
Yes,
No,
No,
this,
does
this
this
starts
include
for the other two.
it's a small amount, isn't it, like $48 or
Yeah,
something like
they have
that?
very little indirect this year because they're brand new.
Because at Pattison, yeah,
So it includes
For all of
Madison.
2024
24
Yeah.
and 25.
and 25?
Because it's on a lag.
Oh,
Everything's on a leg.
okay, so there's lots of lines here.
Yes.
Are you telling me that everything in this packet is either the cost to transfer it from public works to public health, or it's the indirect cost subsidy that the board has given the last few years?
And
And one
And
other,
one more thing going on.
the operational changes that the L&Ds agreed to. So if you were just to look at, say,
line number one.
line number one, it's asking for a decrease of $9,000 for Long Lake, and it says that this is a decrease in professional services that were adjusted based on that conversation with L&D. So you'll see those changes within here too. So that's what, that's for Long Lake, that's what they wanted.
So for the, so is this with the new, I know that we had added up to, I don't know, maybe I'm,
He's still working on.
okay, so
So this reflects the as is. It gives us expenditure authority for each of these districts so that when we go to the new model, we should have very little adjustment, but we can address any adjustments in the midterm because we don't have the final plan yet. And Rob can speak more to that.
Right. We are in process and we do have some time before the board on the 9th of November to give you a status update. I'll be joined by members of the LMD steering committee to kind of give you an update of sort of where we're at. But the most expedient thing to do relative to the budget was to continue as is, and then to utilize one of the amendment opportunities in 2024 to kind of right size anything or make any tweaks. We're still figuring out the admin rate, which would be really a transition from indirect potentially to a direct admin overhead rate to support them. And so we're finalizing those details.
And regardless of the administration model, we need budget authority to be able to spend the money out of these funds.
Correct.
Either you contract with someone for management of the districts or you manage them in-house. We got to be able to spend the money either way.
So
And they're generally budgeting or thinking about their program a year at a time in terms of their work plan. So likely would need to, in the second amendment next year, identify the spending authority that would be needed in 2025. Because right now we're really talking in generalities of the kind of the known assessments and the revenues coming in and programming 1 year at a time.
So this is the best design we have at the moment.
At the moment.
Tweak it as soon as we're able.
And the lake study is that in Public Works or something?
I think that's at
The
a
Healthy
policy
Lake
level.
study is in a different packet, I think, on the brainstorm packet.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's, yes.
so it is not
We have
embedded
it
in
tagged to
this.
follow up, so to discuss that, I know
Well,
that.
I'm a maybe on the subsidies this year because I don't know if we can afford to do that. So
Okay,
I'm good.
well, now you're a maybe and you're a thumbs up, and so
yeah, we can see it on the, how much is it?
27,000 a year.
27,000. I'm a yes, but I think we have to look at it right, when we have that list that we've said
Yep.
yes to, right? And you already said that we're over the 3 million that we had kind of set aside. We have to go over and mark some things
Okay,
off because we were at over 4 million yesterday, so.
yep.
Yeah, and I just, I got a $29,000 email from district court that, it wants to be reassessed. And I mean, I need to see where the
Yep.
money's there. I was very clear from the beginning that I would support this as long as we could afford it.
Right.
Not sure we're there.
Okay, so this is a yes, but you may want to revisit when we look at the final tally.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So the next packet is policy level capital. And the question here was, generally just what's going on with the different funds and can we afford these capital projects? Mainly in the transportation improvement, the transportation fund. So, my suggestion today is not necessarily to go line by line, but to look at the financial plans. Because the financial plans will give you a more holistic look at what these projects are and what that budget is.
So that's if you still have concerns.
Right.
You've already chosen to change the one item that's general fund from general fund to REIT 2. 130,000 for the Yelm Rainier to 90 Trail.
Is that the only change we made?
That is the only change you made when in the first review. The financial plan for roads, because roads is one of the funds you're concerned about. The financial plan for roads has capacity for up to 2 million additional in levy shift. We're currently booking 1 million on the model. But there's room for another 1 million if you should want to do that. And the other fund is REIT 2, and we've adjusted REIT 2 so that all of these items fit within REIT 2. And if there's any other, the best thing you can do is go to the bottom line for each fund and tell us if you have concerns about any of the funds.
I may add that when we went through Public Works and that really detailed sheet that talked about all their change requests, they had requested to move certain projects forward or backwards to be able to make those two funds align correctly.
So
when
these
you
numbers
approve
don't
that line-
necessarily match.
Right, so it won't necessarily match this because they made, suggestions on how to make it line out so that we could have the additional money.
What was the issue here? Did the board have a problem?
One member wanted to talk specifically about REIT. One member wanted to talk specifically about roads to see if we could create more capacity in the roads. So what we're sharing with you is that Public Works has created capacity in roads and we have balanced REIT. And that's why I'm asking. If with the adjustments that we made, we're asking you to approve the capital policy plan. 1, 2, 3, up. Excellent.
At this rate, we might get done before noon.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, we're not gonna get done before noon because we haven't hit the reductions yet.
TST.
We haven't even taken
Well,
TST.
we got TST to talk about too, but we've got
That dream yourself.
Okay, so the commissioner brainstorm packet is the next packet. And we skipped over this packet because we wanted to see where the numbers are kind of falling before we.
I wanted to see if Commissioner Edwards would win the lottery before we had to make this. How is it looking, Commissioner?
It's not looking good, and I guess I'm gonna have to forego my $600,000 request for lakes.
I'm gonna share my screen so that if there is anything on this list that you choose to do, that you'll be able to see in real time. And again, this model currently shows all of the policy items that you've said yes to and it assumes a 2 million shift from ARPA, a 1 million increase in levy shift, and a $4 million budget reduction that we've yet to determine how to spread.
All right, so if we're ready, I'm gonna jump right into line 1 and 2 here. This is for an additional internal auditor. It's a general fund impact of $130,000.
You don't have any money, right? Okay,
So no.
did you find some money?
Nic-
I did not.
Nicole, could
Yes.
you mention which section are we looking at, please?
Commissioner brainstorm packet?
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
Was that-
that was 3 no's.
I thought so, but I just
Line
gotta get it on.
3 is for a federal lobbyist.
Okay.
We currently are doing a pilot or a test on using Strategies 360. So for grant opportunities within the county. We've been utilizing their services to find different grant opportunities, and it seems as though they're able to do that for us.
But we haven't got anything yet.
We haven't got
Yeah.
anything
They're
yet.
just pointing us in the right direction, so can we?
So far, but if any one of their grants pan out, it's gonna be well in excess of this money.
Can we just fund 120,000 for 2024?
Yes, and we would.
It's not ongoing.
Yeah.
And it
Yes.
won't make much of a hit,
We-
and we'll,
we
then we'll
can
have kind of
definitely do
another
that.
year to see.
And we can, yeah, and if we get grant revenue, we'd use a part of it to offset this cost.
I'll do 1 year.
Okay. So what is that?
3 thumbs up.
BO3, 2.
Line 4,
I removed this request.
okay. Line 6 is for a grant writer. A grant writer, so if we have Strategies 360, they would identify the grant opportunities, but we would need someone to assist with writing the grants. And this is what this position is, to continue to help get that revenue into the county.
Is there a contract we can do for someone who just writes grants and they can be charged for what we get in the grant revenue?
I have found a company that does exactly that. That we would only pay them if there's revenue to pay them.
Well, I would rather do that, just we don't have the money to do a grant analyst or grant writer.
Good
Okay.
idea.
So we do a.
So it's no to this,
Yep.
and with direction to me to contract with the grant writing company that we pay only when we're successful.
So there's a grant writing
It's a
company
Pretty
that,
good incentive.
all they do is write grants for, whatever
Jurisdiction.
jurisdictions, and, we would only pay them if we get the grant.
I met them at a conference.
Contingency fee?
I'm sorry?
Contingency fee for a lawyer. You only pay if you win?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah, yeah,
Robin, could I ask a question?
yeah.
So is the way that was proposed, would that be sort of the fee that would come from general fund, or would it actually be a sort of incorporated into a grant proposal as part of the administrative rate that would be allowed?
I believe.
Or do we not
it's-
know that?
I believe it's the latter. I'm not positive, but we'll find out. If there is a general fund fee, then we're gonna find a way to absorb it.
Okay, because it may depend on the grant source too.
Very well may.
Mhm. Thank you.
So we're on lines 8 through 11, and this is for the Court Alternative Program. We discussed the general fund company of $10,000, removing that. and utilizing the other fund sources here, TST, veterans, and housing and community. And any vote?
Yes. Good.
Okay. Line 12, again, this is the brainstorm, so this is before we knew. HR has submitted $50,000 for professional services to help throughout the county in response to training for different employees. Ask for a vote.
Now is not the time.
Right.
Say no.
Yes.
Sad, but it's
Thank you,
not the
Coach.
time.
So line 13 is for stipends for the advisory board. We had the Diversity and Equity Council come and speak for us, as well as with Dee Dee, to talk about stipends for the advisory board. We spoke about possibly doing a pilot program just for Racial Equity Council, and that possibly being funded with public health dollars.
So this one is down and public health is up for a pilot.
Right, so we can say no to this and then address a different alternative.
Yep.
Using public health to help with the pilot program.
So this is down
This is no,
and the pilot is up,
pilot is up.
but the pilot isn't on here yet.
But you could still approve a pilot through public health.
I just asked it, if it comes back that public health can't do it for some legal reason, please bring it back to the board. Because at that scaled back pilot level, I would consider funding the general fund.
It certainly
I
won't
at
be
least
much.
like
if
to
it-
have that
It won't be much
conversation.
if it comes out of the general fund, if it's a pilot.
If we're just doing, yeah,
How much are we putting in for the pilot? I
We
would
said
suggest 10.
$10,000 for the pilot out of public health.
That ought to do it, for sure.
I guess, I don't have that sheet with me, that numbers down.
I
But
don't either, but we're just saying we need to
whatever
put
the
some
rational
money in to
proportionate
be able to
thing
pay.
was, I'm fine with that,
Okay.
based on what we saw before.
Yes. All right, so 3 thumbs up, $10,000. Thank you. All right, so line 14 is for security guard at the Olympia Lacey Training Station. This would be an
We said
entire
no on
funding.
that, didn't we?
Those are no.
3 no's, okay. This is reinstating a fair coordinator for $120,000 here. We spoke about this position being able to actually bring in revenues to offset the cost of the position and the impact to the general fund. We were proposing that we do a 12-month proviso for this position, that they would bring in 75% of their revenue of their position to be able to keep them, and this would lessen the impact to the general fund. So we would book 75% in revenue, keep them on a 12-month proviso, and the effort that they're gonna bring in more revenue into the county, being a coordinator for the fair.
Yeah.
You think you'll find someone that'll be in the job description, they have to know that expectation before they sign up.
Yeah, we'd have to bring in a heavy hitter, someone who really knows what they're doing as far as
Someone who
bringing in.
specializes in fundraising.
And they're gonna get paid what to do that?
This is booked at $120,000, but we're,
That's with all their benefits.
all their benefits, and we budget at mid-level and high benefits, the total, so it could be less if the benefits aren't as much.
And maybe we won't get somebody to fill it. Maybe.
I don't think you will.
Give it a shot.
Might not, in which case we'll
It won't
save the
cost
money,
anything,
but it's, if we're gonna fund, if the point of funding a fair manager is to bring additional revenue into the fund, then that's, we make that a condition instead of getting to the end and saying, oh, well.
Well, we're at 70, if you get to 75%, that's the proviso, right?
Yep, 12 months, 75%.
Shoot, even if we were to get 50%, I mean,
50, it's fine.
I'm just saying, like, the amount of, I think the board has been really reliant on the volunteers, and they've done a great job, and,
Amazing.
but they need help because there are so many other sources of funding. There's possibilities out there, and I don't think we're really tapping into it because we don't have someone who's doing it. You know, I'm not sure if this is aligned with like nonprofit fundraisers and kind of like what they do. I'm looking
The
towards
Fair
people who
Foundation,
here who are on nonprofit boards.
there's a Fair Foundation that does some of that nonprofit
Yeah.
fundraising to
Some.
make things work, you know.
They do it on specific projects for the fairgrounds.
Is there any, I mean, I understand the desire here, but is this a real thing that somebody has these two completely different skill sets to run a fair and then to raise, like, to be like a rainmaker? Like, these seem like two different jobs that not really necessarily the skill set that one person has. They might be an awesome fundraiser, bringing in money. They know nothing about executing a successful fair or vice versa.
Okay. So I don't know about fairs, but I know many directors of nonprofit organizations that need to be great managers and know what the operation of the nonprofit is and be able to manage that successfully and be hustling for donations.
I can tell you in law firms, the lawyers that bring in all the clients and the lawyers that are really successful in the courtroom are two totally different sets of people. And this seems exactly analogous. I mean, anyway, that's just I'm skeptical that this is a good idea. I'm down on this.
All right. So you're no on the idea to attach revenue to it. Are you a no to having a fair manager at all? Would you be willing to do it without the caveat?
No, I don't, we
No.
can't afford, either way,
Can't
it's gonna
afford it.
cost us money, and then it's not the year to be doing this, and we have a brand new set of volunteers and a full fair board, and we're just gonna have to make do another year.
Okay, just trying
That's
to
where I'm
be
at, but
clear. We were looking for
Understand
a
I'm outvoted.
path to yes by attaching revenue. So where,
don't think
and
that's gonna pan
please
out.
articulate what it is you're in favor of.
With the 75% proviso.
At 75%?
As laid out.
75%, 12 months.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll double check with Josh to see if he thinks this is
Viable.
still, but that's what we would recommend.
So line 16, emergency management, they came up with 3 separate options to be able to help with different communication projects. The first option is $10,000, the second option is $30,000, and the third option is $100,000. The question here was to see if there's other funding, maybe hazard mitigation or some other type of funding source. We were unable to find a different funding source.
So this is the commissioner brainstorm, is this one of your guys' ideas?
Yes, Commissioner Edwards.
Okay.
I better pay attention.
I mean,
A way to address emergency communications. So they came up with a $10,000 option, which is for radios.
Oh, what that is about is the ham radio process. And what's going on right now is if we have a breakdown of our system, as we did in the earthquake of, was it 96? Is that, am I, 98? Something like that, where the cell towers, everything went down, everything wasn't working. And we actually did depend on the ham radio clubs at that point. Now, you know, we got it back up in, I don't know, a couple days or something. And so the fire departments have been talking about getting ham radios set up at their individual fire departments. And if we had something at the county level as well to communicate it, it was just to get something moving. And I think the Cadillac is 100,000, but to start the program, it, you know, about $10,000 might not take that. There's a little bit of capital cost for radio equipment, antennas, and maybe some, I think you have to get a ham license. Different ones need to do that. I don't know. It was just kind of a minimal amount to see if we could get it going. That's all.
and who would be getting this going? Our emergency management
It'd
department?
be kind of with our emergency management and fire and the EMS council,
So they could do it for a one-time investment of $10,000.
yeah, because it's not gonna be ongoing cost.
ARPA, no?
Could ARPA pay for that?
thought we looked into that.
Emergency notice, probably.
We can look into it.
I mean,
This is Diana. Do you want me to speak to that?
Sure.
Sure, I did look into that, the new flexibility final rule, and it would pay for things that would decrease the likelihood of certain disasters occurring, but it didn't appear to pay for this.
Thank you, Diana.
Sure.
It'd be a one-time $10,000. I mean, we can circle back when you start to see.
Well, I mean,
We're ready
maybe
to
I'll get,
vote?
maybe I'll get
You've
outvoted.
got a
I'm
one-
not, I'm not going for the 100, that's for sure. I'm
be
going
willing
for
to
the
add it
10.
onto our maybe list and kind of see,
At 10, not 100.
Yeah,
yeah,
at 10.
10.
That's fine, yeah, I mean,
So
10,000
here's
one
the
time
chart,
something.
and if we add $10,000 to it, it really doesn't change.
I'm okay with that, actually.
You're, okay,
So 2 yeses.
So 2 yes.
10,000. So we got two and a maybe. I'm gonna one time 10,000.
So,
It is foundational public health though, and if you really look at the
Are you
under,
out there, David?
the end there, you're gonna get Band-Aids on somebody if you can get there quick enough. Jennifer, you gotta stretch.
But what you really need to do is you need to talk about the environmental illnesses that come with disasters, because we don't have,
Yeah, staff.
there's where you go.
line
So
17.
this was, this next one, let's
ahead.
go. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say line 17 through 21. Again, this is a brainstorm, so, but this was to match the revenue for the LNDs.
And I think that was that amount that I didn't think maybe we'd be able to go.
Right.
So
So,
that's a
That
thumbs
was quick.
down across the board.
lines 22 and 23 are the Summit Lake transfer. So line 23 is for one-time $200,000 out of the Habitat Conservation Mitigation Fund for the Summit Lake transfer. And then line 22 is for $100,000 in maintenance costs associated with maintaining.
Yeah, which we haven't figured out yet why that's in
So-
there.
Robin has some information
So
to share.
we looked into this a little more. And Travis did indeed advise that there would be minimal one-time costs. However, Travis was not aware of the requirements of Department of Natural Resources, for owners of forest lands. There are things we would have to do on an ongoing basis. Now, is it 100,000 to contract for a forester? Maybe not. But is it zero? No. So somewhere in between is the amount we're gonna need to manage this land on an ongoing basis. I know that there are some innovative ideas for how to do that. Contract with
WSU.
nonprofit or, or have so Rob has a really interesting idea on ways to go about this where whoever you contract with would be managing the land in such a way to create a revenue that would pay for themselves. So.
Thinning and stuff.
Take down hazard trees or
Can we
something.
can we say nothing to this, and then depending on what materializes, we can do a
We
budget
could
amendment?
address it in an amendment,
So I'm
yes.
down on this.
So you're a
We'll figure it out, but it's not,
You're
about the
no on the
purchase?
forest.
you're a
That- you know,
no
I'm-
for the
I'm good on the-
forester, but a yes on the
the
conservation
conservation future.
futures.
Okay,
Yes,
Okay.
the general fund piece.
okay.
I'm
I'm
with that. yeah.
comfortable with that as long as we understand that eventually we may have to put something toward that.
So I just wanted to confirm, I heard Nicole say the Habitat Conservation Mitigation Fund versus Conservation Futures. Just want to make sure it's Conservation Futures and not the other, right?
Yes,
So-
conservation futures is what
Is that
this
what we're
would
paying
come
at?
from.
Okay, this was put in as Habitat Conservation Mitigation Fund, if you see the line there. If it's
Oh,
supposed-
yeah, I don't know. No,
Conservation
we wouldn't mind
futures,
out of that,
okay.
it'd be conservation futures.
We'll make sure
Yeah.
that's updated.
We'll update that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So lines 24 through 26 have to do with Axon, Justice Premier. So we had Sherry, Axon, Justice Premier. So Sherry came and spoke with us about this request. Currently, it's put in at $176,000. She spoke that she was able to get the cost down. If we did a 5-year contract, it would be $130,000. If we did a 10-year contract, possibly $120,000.
Is there any way that we can not have to do this? I've been saying, well, let's get rid of the body cams and all that kind of stuff. But that isn't gonna solve the problem anyway, because you have the other agencies and stuff that are contributing to the prosecutor's office that has to have
and
the
it's-
You
ability.
have to have some type of software.
And it's not just body camera footage, it's any kind of
Yeah, the
video,
gas station
cell phones
footage
and all that
and
kind of
cell
stuff.
phones.
People's phones.
So did we find out how much we're currently paying for the system that no one likes?
I would need, no, I did not get
Not
an
yet.
answer.
Okay,
I'd have to reach out to Heidi
On the
and
maintenance part of that system
the
that we got
GTAC.
for free.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
well,
not free.
it's not free.
Yeah, right.
And if the obtaining
I thought it was,
licensing of that system is free, there's nothing to
I
offset.
thought it was
right?
free because we were,
Yeah.
because we bought the cameras and it comes with, you know, some limited functionality, then that's what Sherry was trying to say, well, how much does that cover what Axon does? Well, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 95%. I'm not gonna get in between the prosecutor and the IT director on that one, but I thought it was essentially free
Right.
versus this being a complete upgrade
We're
of
just
cost.
double checking that, because if there's anything we cannot pay for by taking this, we'll
Yeah.
do the offset.
I thought
we gotta
the
do
agreement
this.
was for this to go under the public safety tax if it were to pass. Again,
That
if it were to
is-
pass and if it were not, then we would come back and try to find alternatives.
Well, the alternative is pretty much general fund. So, so yes, we would shift this to, the new tax if it should pass, but in the meantime, I think we need to plan for it. It is at a lower price. Sherry was able to negotiate a lower price.
It's about a third, almost a third, a little more than a third.
Yeah.
40% maybe of where it was originally presented, so that's good.
If we did
Yes.
the 10-year contract.
Or even the 5-year contract. I mean, the original tag was 370,000 or something.
Yeah.
Now we're at 136,
Right,
so.
But a 10-year contract sounded to me like it was always gonna be upgraded and wasn't gonna be like the cameras we bought for the jail that are, you know, after 7, they're done, and we've been running them for 15. So
well, we're gonna have to replace the body cameras on a regular
at
basis,
some
but
point.
This isn't the cameras, this is just
no,
the.
this
is
is
the
not the
software,
cameras, this is
evidence
software.
management.
Retention
And
and
software
ability to
needs
gain
upgrades,
information.
and there's an annual, it's not a
Redacted.
one-time cost.
I have a question. Now that we
Sure.
brought up the body cams, are we saving up for the body cams at all? Or is that gonna be like,
Did we put those in the R&R? I don't think, did we? I don't know, we'll have to check.
I
I
would
I
almost
don't
think
think
we
so,
did.
because the sheriff just went out and got it.
They are an ER and R.
Yeah,
are
I
in
thought
R&R.
I thought we did.
So, yes, we are saving up for this.
Because that's kind of what the sheriff was basically saying, because, you know, this got purchased before he was even elected.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So he came in, he's like, look, I've looked at both of them and, you know, we'll make do with these, but when their life's up, which is like 4 or 5 years, I'm gonna be wanting the Axon, I'm gonna be coming to you asking for the Axon cameras,
Right.
you know, when it's a re-upping situation, because you'd be kind of essentially starting over anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, looking down the road, we're gonna get there, sounds like.
yeah.
I think we almost need to go that 10-year contract. I know it locks us in for 10 years.
Might as well.
But why not? Because we're gonna have to have something, and it looks like that's risen to the cream to the top. That's, it seems like the best one, unless there's something out there we haven't heard about.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that contract. I mean, if we're gonna do it, if we're gonna make the leap. I'm just still like, I'm still standing on the edge of the pool.
It's like, I don't think we have a choice. If GTAC is not going to work out, right? I wanted find every possible avenue before we had to do this. Like, was there gonna be something else that worked? And it sounds like it's not.
IT has now done due diligence, and this
Yeah.
is the best way, this is the way our offices want, it's.
I look at it this
she's
way,
brought that price
with this
down.
one, with this let's say $117,000, we're really, like, if you think about that expenditure magnitude, and we're really helping the prosecutor, public defense, and the sheriff, I mean, we're like really helping three departments with a critical need in one shot. Then if you think of it that way, it's not a bad investment.
And I think we're actually helping ourselves when it comes to the point when we get requests in and we're not able to use this old system to recover those in a timely fashion.
And I'm
too.
telling you, I mean, Commissioner Edwards, you guys both know this, you both know the courts well, but like, I can't imagine having to do a video redaction, blurring out people's faces, and, I mean, they're not kidding when they're talking about hours and hours of video footage. And if it's a domestic violence case and someone's gotta be protected's identity, you know, and, I mean, John's not kidding when he's saying it's gonna be he's 2 FTEs worth of time to do that if we don't have this kind of functionality.
Better make it work.
So we're gonna spend this money. I mean, there's no way we're gonna get around it.
Yeah.
Right, so I do wanna say, I'm gonna mark you down as 3 thumbs up to purchasing Axon. We'll bill it to the new tax if we're so successful. If not, I think we need to suck it up in the general
Bite
fund.
the bullet.
And I also want to express my appreciation to the prosecutor's office and public defense for waiting for the budget cycle so it could play out appropriately, and working with IT to ensure the best solution.
Yeah. And thank you to Sherry too for.
Huge thanks to Sherry for.
We're trying to make it work. We heard it didn't work, right? And that's okay. But at least there's due diligence there, and we looked through every avenue. And so this request, we know that it's
The best.
the
path.
best
Yep.
that's
all
going
right.
to fit the needs for everyone, so.
Okay, so line 27, this is for IT.
Didn't we already approve this?
When she spoke, did you guys give a thumbs up?
No, we did not, I mean, if you wanna say you did, but
But it's the same position we discussed yesterday.
we discussed it yesterday, but it wasn't as part of this.
Position that she badly needs.
I thought we said yes to.
So why is this even
Did
here?
you all say yes? We didn't catch
I
that.
didn't catch it.
No?
Like we,
All right,
It's
so
here.
it's a
certain we
yes, let's
did.
move on.
Yeah. And this is where you're helping with.
It's like, wait, no. Because I was standing over there.
She talked about a few things and we didn't have the packets in front of us, and that may be why we're circling back.
What was the dollar amount?
It is $141,000 a year out of the IT operations fund, which means it will come back through rates at approximately a 60-40 split.
I thought we did say yes. We were all grumbling, but we were like,
Yeah, I think in my notes here, I have a little sticky because I didn't have the packet, and it says yes.
Yeah, I
we
thought,
were, yeah, I
Yeah, it's
remember.
already- I mean, yeah, it wasn't an easy decision, but we ended up getting there, is my recollection.
Yeah, because it was just like, well, it looks like the support is needed and.
So then, I'm gonna go to the last line here, then this is the Healthy Lakes, study that we were speaking about. This is inside of environmental health, it's not a general impact. This is to do a comprehensive study of, the lakes in Thurston County.
We can afford it with environmental health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Okay. So we're done. So the next is going to be PST.
Stop sharing my screen at this point.
Can we,
Have a game plan. Oh, did you want to take a break?
Do you want to?
well, if TST is gonna take some time and could we maybe address the district court issue and then take a break and then jump into TST?
Well,
Is this the community?
Because we've got, yeah. I just wanna touch it base on it,
Okay.
so let's,
make sure we didn't act inconsistently, because I know district court got dressed right toward the front end of everything.
So the only two reclassifications that we approved were central services, which I remember because when we agreed the whole packet was central services because the reduction, we had already approved those two decisions at a prior Board of County Commissioners meeting. And then it was this ERP one for the auditor, which was going to be an increase, but again, we had already made a decision in a prior board meeting.
Right.
Were there any others? Those were the two that came up.
I believe that's all of them. Looking through these notes here.
so where the budget team, including me, interpreted, we landed on the reclassifications was that if it was under 10,000 and could be absorbed, that it was a go.
And then it was a go.
These are a little more than that.
And these are a little more. So if you'd like to authorize the little bit more, great.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember when you said that, and I was about to propose 15,
All right.
but then you said 10, and I was like, okay, that sounds right. So I mean, maybe it's worth just looking at it,
Sure.
just to make sure.
I was even antsy with the 10, so that, that's gonna be a no for me, but I don't know if this is, if commissioners wanna look at it, like, I'm open to it, but I'm just not,
So
I'm not there.
it's absorb, not adding money for the first 2
Yeah.
years.
Well, the
that's
judicial
what
assistant
district court
piece,
said
I
they
think,
would.
is something you would know best about.
Yeah,
And the argument is they're supporting 4 judges and they want to align it to commissioner aides, and is that a compelling argument to you?
for me, it's just the funding amount and,
I know that
So,
there was a comment that the class and comp, isn't gonna help, because I guess, like everybody else, I guess, they're not, they don't think that it's comparable position, it's not, doesn't align with whoever they were compared with. I'm assuming that means that they weren't out of market, but there's an argument that it's not perfectly aligned to what they actually do.
I would say the items in district court that you are specifically, and it's my interpretation, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you are specifically saying no to are the items that would class the district court administrator to a court executive officer, and the reclass of the like the finance manager to a CFO. It's that whole structure that Judge Buckley presented, that the court would be treated differently, and he brought a study that was a few years old, and you had asked what the state of Washington was doing to address it. The state had not, and Superior Court was not heading in that direction. So that would be a reason to say no to these specific 2 or 3. But the rest of them are reclasses being requested on a routine, if you will, basis.
So I don't, yeah, I mean, the judicial assistant, I don't find that to be.
Right, that's
What our
not part of
aides
that.
do is so different. I mean, we're responsible to all the constituents in the county. I mean, it's just not the same job, frankly. So I don't find that. I
Right.
guess I was more concerned about the adult probation supervisor being out of line with the juvie probation manager and both managers and Judge Buckley saying that there is no rational basis for paying an adult probation manager less than a juvie probation manager. That was a more compelling argument to me.
Right, so again, with the exception of those very few, I would say that these are not unreasonable requests. I would also say, though, if you're gonna implement the class and comp study and start having that conversation next year, that perhaps the trade-off is that these positions would not be eligible for adjustments in the comp and class study. And the other thing that we have to watch for is if these are union positions, they need to be bargained. And if they are positions, and of course, the adult probation supervisor doesn't exist in another office. But if one of these proposals is for a position that exists not only in the office requesting it, but other offices as well, we need to ensure parity within the class.
Can I ask about this paragraph where it says, for those positions we cannot absorb reclassification costs within current budget limits, we would like the board to approve the title and class specification changes without the associated salary increase. That
Where are you
confused me
reading that?
That's from the email.
from the email from Judge
That would be
Buckley.
the core executive ones. Those are around in the fiscal manager.
Okay, but he's saying these two, they can be absorbed.
So the fiscal manager is 35,000. I thought that one's one that can't be absorbed.
So are they saying that some of these classifications don't exist yet? I don't understand that statement in his email either.
I think some of them don't exist yet.
Some of them don't
Right,
exist.
one of the items in the packet that they presented was, classifications with the edits in them
Right.
that they're looking at trying to,
Okay, so if the classification doesn't exist, then you can direct HR. You can't establish a classification that doesn't exist in your position control resolution. So what you would be doing is asking HR to work with the court or whatever office to develop the classification. And that would have to happen anyway.
So, yeah, I mean, it's confusing because there was a package of proposals, but then they focus on these two, saying if, understanding that we're probably not going to do the package because of funding issues.
Right.
But if given authority, we would limit our use of it to the following two positions. So I'm looking just at those two. And then it says, then it goes on to say about the reclassification, but I'm assuming that doubles back to the bigger package. Because we already have an adult probate, that's just adjusting the salary range.
So again,
Class and comp, okay.
if,
It's out of, you're saying that's why should be provisoed as being then not considered when the class and comp changes? Because if the argument is class and comp doesn't fit us,
right,
then, okay, well, if it doesn't fit you, then we're making a separate adjustment and then we're
right,
not gonna consider you on the class and comp.
yes.
Okay, well, I don't know what my seatmates feel like. I just didn't wanna not address this before we move on.
I kind of want to be fair to what we're doing, you know, if we're doing other stuff, but I am worried about what Robin mentioned about creating a precedence that possibly other positions out there, and then we're the equity issue of treating everybody fair. That's all.
Are there reclasses? I mean, you mentioned a few reclasses, or Commissioner Mejia did, that we granted. Are there other ones? I can't remember. Are there a bunch of other ones that we said, no, can't do your reclass? Or is this the only one?
So, let's see, the auditor, looking at this packet, I'm looking for the ones that exceed $10,000. The assessor has one that is just under 11, but it's over 10.
Did we grant it or no?
What?
Did we deny it?
So the direction that the budget team heard was if it's under 10 and can be absorbed, then they can do it. So that's over 10. So we were thinking, okay, not that one, yes, this one, based on the dollar level.
So that's the,
So if you'd like to raise that to 15, and that would cover, actually,
How about
If-
12
if you'd like to
instead of
say,
15? No,
yeah, I mean, it's a,
but that's the only one that's over the
if you wanna
10.
say they can do it as long as they can absorb it, with the exception of creating executive positions, that is another way to go about this.
Yeah, because if you go with a dollar amount of 15,000, the adult probation supervisor reclass is 15,700. I would go with Robin's recommendation.
So then the ones that would be no are pretty much for the district court. It would be their request to, not do, it's line 5 on page 2, that reclassifies the district court administrator, to a
Executive? is that-
court executive officer. Because you're not doing that for Superior Court. Then line 6 reinstates an assistant court administrator and reclassifies the court's administrative service manager to court operations officer, and reclassifies something out of MTP into at-will. So I would say no to that. And then you've got line 7, now I'm on page 4, also district court, wanting to reclassify their court financial officer to an at-will position, and they'd reclassify their fiscal manager to a court financial officer. Now, we've got fiscal managers throughout the county that do work that is on par at least with the fiscal manager in district court. So I would say, I would recommend no to that. The rest of these are just reclassifications that are raising people up, if you will.
Is that the
And I
ladder,
would
the
just
ladder
say
thing?
yes to everything else in this packet if they can absorb it. That addresses the other district court positions that they have asked for in this email. I'm
So
sorry,
what
what,
would-
Commissioner?
No, what, so in the end, what would that cost us?
If you tell them if they can do it, if they
with
can
the
absorb
end?
it,
So
then it would cost you nothing.
It does not increase the base budget.
Correct. But they have to, if it's a union, they have to bargain it. If it's something that exists in another office or department, we have to ensure parity.
So they still might not be able to do it.
True. Would you like to think about that and come back to this? Take a break?
Yeah.
All right,
Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
let's take 15.
15? Okay. Okay, we are back from break. It is 11:02. I would like to thank the prosecutor's office as well as Wendy and Marshall for joining us this morning and letting us have a little time with them. But we are jumping back to budget deliberations and we're picking up with,
Three classes, we were talking about
Okay.
three classes presented, and
Yes.
I'll let Robin take it away.
So, back to the policy level reclass packet. We had been looking for a path forward to do at least some of these, but I am going to recommend to you, I'm going back to my original recommendation, that the board say no to all requests for funding in this packet. And any reclasses that have not already come before you, two have. But for those that have not come before you, in a Tuesday afternoon prior to the budget cycle, that you say no to these reclasses. Many of these items are part of the comp and class study. Many of them are union, they would need to be bargained. Many of them have, the position affected is not a classification only in the office that has brought the request forward. There's many complications, and the union has asked, actually not the union has, well, the union did ask for an MOU with the county that we have entered into that says that we will bargain comp and class next year. So I am recommending to the board to say no to the entire packet, and to hold off on the comp and class study, as you have already agreed to do, until next year in the midterm.
Does that include a reversal of any decisions we've made to this point?
No, what you agreed to for two positions, one was a reclassification in central services to a position, we did not need a communications person, we need a mechanic, and that costs less. So we would ask.
We already approved that at the Board of County Commissioners.
Exactly. And the other one that you already approved was the reclassification in the auditor's office of a business application person to a higher level IT person, which Sherry said was absolutely appropriate. And so that reclassification would stand, but Mary would have to absorb the additional cost next biennium.
Okay, and that's where I'm a little confused, because the one that I brought up, that was brought up to us about district court, was saying they would absorb. So is this a difference between absorbing or not absorbing, or you're saying not doing it even if they're willing to absorb?
I'm saying don't do it even if they're willing to absorb.
Due to the other complications that you've laid out.
Some of which
I
have
don't know
arisen
if
this
the
morning.
district court line was in the comp and class. So it is a reversal, and I'm asking you to just say no to the whole package.
Looks like there's more to come.
There is more to come on the comp and class, you'll get that in the midterm next year. So,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so then before we went into reclasses, we were talking about TST. We're gonna jump into TST.
Where's the next move?
TST. So we had a presentation following Public Health and Social Services by Shaylin on TST, where she worked with the TST committee to come up with recommendations for the biennium. During that presentation, there was talk about decreasing some of the maintenance level budget to accommodate the policy level ask. But we noticed that in that maintenance level decrease, that there was some confusion as to what could possibly be decreased. So what we thought here in the budget office to help with this issue with, because if they were to decrease some of the budget authority in the maintenance level, it may have impacted positions that are already filled. There's a lot of complications in that presentation. So what we did is we looked into our system to see what the maintenance level budget is in TST, and that you just keep that standard until we can look into what positions that are vacant or what we could actually reduce the budget in the future. So leave that maintenance level budget inside of TST. There is,
Make no reductions.
make no reductions. What we're looking at also is that historically there has been a 10% reversion. So we can, when we're looking at the fund as a whole, we'll take that into account, that there's a 10% reversion, but don't make any changes to the maintenance level. And based on the beginning fund balance, the revenues projected, keeping the maintenance level, factoring in the 10% reversion, we believe that there's $750,000 available in TST to be able to maintain the fund, and that you could approve for policy level requests within TST.
Say that again, $700 and.
$50,000.
It's about 750,000 is all the capacity in TST.
To do something beyond
To
maintenance.
do something beyond maintenance.
I have a question. They approved around 800,000,
Right.
and so then what would that be set up?
So what do you mean, what would
They
that be?
recommended about, there's $2 million, I believe, and.
The community grant awards, yeah, it was 1,095,000. They set it at 800,000 per year. We had discussions about,
We could definitely decrease that and create a little more capacity.
I think that's a maintenance level, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we could pull that down.
Yeah, we wanted to pull that down.
Yeah.
It used to be 250.
Yeah,
When I
once
started.
upon a time.
I mean,
Yeah. No, that's a good thing. So we can pull that number down because that is at maintenance level. That would increase the 750. And what Nicole and I are suggesting is that you would figure out what that number is. We were thinking 750. I had forgotten that you had said, let's reduce the community grant, so whatever you reduce that by would add to the 750. And then you figure out what items on this list you'd like to fund.
can you say there's 2 million worth of requests for this 750 or more
Yeah, there's
2,200,000.
about 2 points.
Yes.
of new policy requests?
Yes.
Yes.
and then didn't we say yes to the packet that David presented yesterday that included some positions that you already said yes to? Do we have to?
Yes, for TST, so we're factoring that in already, right? In the
The-
maintenance level, the ones that they already said yes to,
Yes.
that you already said yes to through David's packet, or, trying to find my notes here, let me
So
stop sharing.
Other pieces that, some of that had pieces of it in there.
Like, for instance, the court, alternative program has a TST component, a small TST component, that's already factored in there. So the yes that you already said for TST are already factored in there.
And, okay, so, Shaylin also sent this out, I'm assuming the commissioners all got the same thing, okay. And all these FTEs, these are new requests,
That,
it's a memo from Shaylin, trying to answer questions that we had.
We haven't seen it?
When did it come in?
Thomasina handed it to me this morning, I don't know when it came in.
I'm sorry, we
I
have not
haven't
seen
seen it
that.
then.
She's trying to, going through all the questions we had during the presentation and answering them, and
That's good.
one of the questions was, can we have a full picture of the new employee funding requests? And there's a color-coded chart that goes through all that. I didn't have a chance to even read this, because I got it this morning, but,
Thank you, Taylor.
Maybe forward it to
it
them.
might help
We
guide
don't
us
have
as we
it
go
at
through this
all.
new
Here, I'll
stuff.
forward it to you, and Taylor's printing it as well.
So, with many people listening, I would just request that when people are providing information, that it be, it's great if you send something straight to commissioners, but please include the budget team.
It was, you and Rob were CC'd on it.
I don't know why I don't
It came
have
from,
it then.
it came from, Public Health sent it over to Jamie, and Jamie sent it to all the aides, you and Rob and us. So I'll forward this to you right now.
Jane? Yeah, I don't have it.
Well, the chart shows 1.3 million in new FTE funding. We had 750 plus, we reduced by 500,000 the community grants from 800 to 300, and we're at like 1.25. Of course, they didn't recommend to fund a lot of things too, so I think we have to look at these, but
Oh, you're, here.
I think so. I'll give you another one, but I think
I'm trying to get a sense of what our gap is.
Yes.
just had it.
Sorry about that.
So we just received this.
So it's great that you're getting answers to your questions, and perhaps this will inform you as you go through the approximately, let's see, how much do we have in community services right now?
100,000?
I don't know.
Is it up to 800?
It's 800.
I think
So, and how much would you like to take that down to?
250 or 300?
Yeah. And I'm wondering, right,
300, just drop it 500,000.
but Nicole just said that a lot of the maintenance position and things that we already said yes to are already included into that calculation. Yesterday, we said yes to like public health, we said yes to all of this. And so if that's already included, right, then there's more flexibility. Is
Then we
kind
have
of-
more capacity.
That's kind of what I'm trying,
We said all of this, even the one that they didn't recommend for funding?
yeah. Because we said yes to the proposed packet from David.
So having not seen what Shaylin sent you, it's hard for us to
Yeah.
comment on it. I
Yeah, it really
apologize.
is. Do we want to give time to
So-
look at this?
Well, I mean,
I
I
don't.
haven't looked at it any longer than you have,
Yeah.
but it could help us as we muddle
It
through
could
this.
inform, and what we're suggesting is that we go old school, figure out how much you have to spend, and go through the packet of policy level requests from TSD.
Yep,
Have you say yes or no and see if it fits in the
okay.
however much money we determine you have to spend. And if we get to an item that we say, oh, yes, that's already a maintenance level,
We
check.
don't have to do that one.
Exactly.
So you said we had 750 and we're adding 500 to that, so we have about 1.25?
Commissioner Edwards, I heard 2 thumbs up for reducing the community grants from 800,000 to 300,000. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so yes, you got,
1.25 of capacity to go
1.25
above and beyond maintenance.
yes.
I have
So
one
let's
question.
just go through the request then.
Okay, and before we do that, yes, sir.
And, in all your calculations, you're basing this TST fund on the slowdown, the rest
Yes,
of sales tax is
Yep,
figured in.
all of that is taken into consideration.
Okay.
Can I also ask, when we're going through this line by line, can you let us know if it's already been calculated in the maintenance or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Have to tell us if we've already approved it.
Yeah.
If it's on a policy packet, it's not in maintenance level. We'll double check that as we go, but
We've got our chart, this will help us to show, this is a really, I like the organization of this chart. Shaylin, if you're out there, it shows exactly what the TST committee recommendation was on each piece and what the dollar amounts are.
yes, that's very helpful to have information as we go. Great.
Let me clarify. So if it's on, if it was, for instance, like the court program where it was that small part for TST, that's included, but David's stuff is not included yet.
It's not?
The maintenance stuff, the 40s, that would be in this packet. So that would be something that we would be
Oh,
requesting
would
now.
be, it was
Yeah.
not in maintenance
Right.
level.
No,
No,
I mean, we
'cause in
talked
this
about it
packet.
yesterday when we did this packet.
Right.
Um,
So we have to back out all of the 40s, because 40 is the number for public health. So you look, I'm sorry, this is our accounting term. So if you look at where it says request on this page, and like, for instance, the very first one, it says TST, mental health probation counselor
page are you
add,
on?
your colored chart here.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm reading in the gray, it says TST, mental health probation counselor, add FTE, and it says B 0710. I know I'm speaking accounting here, but after the B, that 07 tells us what department it is. So if it says B40, that is David, or
Right,
if it
and
says
that's, and those are all categorized under light blue.
right, so I need to add those in after your 1.2 that we just talked about to figure out what it is that you actually
So
have.
as we go, when we hit a line that they've said yes to,
I'll have
we'll
to
add it in the list.
Okay.
What's that relevant to? The amount of the 1.5 million we have to spend?
Right.
Yep.
So I think it would, if I put them in there right now, I think that's what makes sense, right? And then see what it is that you have. So I'm gonna go down the list here. It says like B40, so the first.
B40 is still,
Yep, so it's PHSS, right? So the first one is that nurse family partnership and bilingual. It says 62,000 in the first year for full funding. Off of this year, 116,000. So based on the numbers, I haven't had a chance to review this sheet. I'm not sure why it's that much more in the second year.
I'm looking that one up, but I believe that they assumed this position would start in July.
that's
So
still.
then I need to put the higher amount in here.
Quite a few of them on that B40 list.
B40, what was the B40, 25?
So I'm going to the next one where it says nurse family partnership medical school worker. I'm gonna put that amount in there. The divisional support capacity here at 116. I'm gonna round. B40-22 leadership capacity, that is minus 148. Do you know what the second year is there?
B4022.
Because the second year is substantially higher.
There's $800,000 there out of that TST
They
fund.
made the assumption that there would be one position in the first year and two positions in the second year.
So to make sure I'm balancing, I need to use the higher number. Let me make this larger. Okay, so now I'm into B40-30, that's 85,000.
What is E40-30?
That is certified peer counselors at the Thurston County Correctional Facility.
Okay.
The next one is for substance use disorder professional at the Thurston County Correction Facility at 100,000. Oops.
And then another.
And the last is these two were not recommended, but we approved them. Reentry specialist at the Thurston County Correctional Facility.
I don't know if we would have approved it under this.
You'll double check.
And how much did the board approve for the PCAP?
They already said that's calculated in.
For the CCAP,
It's already in. But
you guys are using acronyms. What's
off the
CCAP?
brainstorm list, the court
For alternative programs.
alternative program.
Yes. So I gotta stop sharing so I'm not going through all the sheets here on screen.
So I didn't realize that all of David's positions included all the TST impact.
Yeah, I think we were under the impression that it was mostly, sorry, this is just taking a little bit, but we'll get through it.
I cannot see
You do not see that on
the
his request,
TNBHSO ones on here.
the three of those?
I don't.
She's double checking, we might be able to back out 285,000.
We did not go over those yesterday.
Okay.
They were not included in David's packet.
Yeah, we're not.
Okay. So yes, that's all included. So I'm gonna share again, so you have 618,000, let me share. too big. There you go. So we have an additional $618,000 to approve.
Based on, and I don't wanna use this is just an FTE chart, and there are sometimes programmatic things that aren't just FTEs. So can we just go through the lines of the packet, so we know we're hitting everything?
Yes.
And we can cross-reference them on the chart for extra information.
So the first line is, for district court for TST care coordinator reclassification. It's for $36,000. That is not on this sheet that I see before you. This is just for new FTE.
And do we remember, and I know I've got it somewhere in my notes, but do we remember what the TST committee said?
My notes here, I have full funding.
Does this contradict what we just got done doing, though, saying that we're gonna wait until mid-term next year?
No, that's on reclasses. The FTE reclasses, that's got nothing to do with those.
This
This
first
is-
position is a reclassification.
Good grief, then say
Yeah.
no to this.
Well, that's what yeah. It's some kind of a reclass.
I'm just gonna throw this out here so we have it.
Yeah.
Judge Buckley had said, I would strongly urge the board to approve the reclasses for the positions funded by treatment sales tax and approved by the TST board. These positions are grossly underpaid and put us at risk of further attrition. The loss of skilled and passionate care coordinators and their supervisor would be a significant blow to mental health court and veterans court.
I'm sure that every office and department feels that way about the positions that you just said no to. Usually the budgeters cold-hearted.
Is there any, there's no logical reason to treat this differently because it's TST funded versus something else?
Absolutely not. If we start saying a reclass over here is okay because of the funding source, then we lose the integrity of what I'm discussing. They're union positions. The union has asked us to wait on comp and class until next year.
So we're not saying no, we're just delaying.
We're not,
a
we're
while till
saying
we-
not now.
Till we can get all the particulars figured out.
Yes.
Okay. So is that, so we're saying no to
Yes,
reclasses?
I'm open to arguments. I think we're trying to be fair to everybody, so how do you do it with one and not the other?
Yeah, I mean, position by position, I absolutely understand the arguments, but then you just get a completely haphazard, inconsistent, and there's just no way, it's like, I don't see any way to get it done consistently and.
Right now, at this point. I mean,
Right.
But couldn't it become some kind of a priority for the earlier part of next year? I don't know.
But you could, it comes down to the bargaining. And you could
Portion of it.
certainly ask HR if they could work with the unions early in the year, but it was at the request, it's my understanding at the request of the union, we delayed this until next year.
How many of these positions that are being asked for are,
Our union versus non, I couldn't tell you.
yeah, so,
Maybe these ones are not, but again, once you start to pick and choose, this one's got funding, someone's gonna come up with a reason for you to say yes to each one of them. They're all needed, but need to wait.
All right, so that's the first two lines
they're
are
needed, but they need
reclasses.
to wait. That's a good way to put it.
So then line 3. For
Well,
TST.
have we settled this? Are we done with this? Okay. You're going to line 3 now?
It's a reclass.
Line 2 is a reclass, so we're gonna go to line 3. TST mental health probation counselor. My My notes say that the TSD committee recommended 75% and 24%, so they're thinking there's gonna be a delay in hiring and then fully funding it in 2025. Our key here is the first.
Why is it more in the first year? It's 75%.
Time cost, and it doesn't look like they reduced it by 75%.
They just made the recommendation.
They just made the
didn't do math.
recommendation, but the math's not reflected.
And that's 75% would be based on, it would start in April 1st.
Yeah, just assuming that as much as everybody wants to, and everybody dreams, they do not hire these new FTEs on January 1st.
I'm good with that.
But the,
TSD proposal.
The TSD pro, 75%.
since you need to do
But I
both
would
years.
still, yeah, I would still budget in here out of the 618 the full amount, because it's gonna carry forward, and I need to make sure that the fund balance stays above.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put the 124 in there. 125.
He's the boss of the dollar.
I wanna make sure we're making no decisions here.
That's a done deal.
The next one is for district court, TST court assistant 1. This was not recommended, that's my notes. This is for $92,000.
I'm curious why, if it was not recommended, we did that. We did not do it with David's portion of it, is that right? So we're still making a decision on this.
So
Got
the two last requests here in the BHSO, the substance use disorder professional at the correctional facility and the reentry specialist that were not recommended, those were not included. So we didn't include those two.
I asked about that, and I don't know what TST committee, I asked at the BHO meeting, because it said that those, the reason we were provided was that there's a True Blood grant. So this I think is okay, because my concern was, they're like, well, there's a True Blood grant, and that's gonna fund some new positions, so we don't need this. But True Blood is really focused on a tiny stratum of people. But what I learned from Mark and Joe at the BHO is that they have other staff, and the True Blood grant, new positions, will then allow them to shift their existing staff to the stuff that I'm more interested in. So it will actually end up functioning as creating capacity outside of the True Blood class. So the TST committee was probably on point when saying not recommending, or at least there's an argument there that could be defended.
Are you on?
We're still on 4.
We're still on 4.
Still on 4, but you jumped over to TMBHS for some reason.
In response to Commissioners Edwards' question saying if this one was not recommended, why are we including recommended, not recommended ones at public health? And so these are two that are not recommended, and we did not include them.
Okay, well, let's.
Sorry, I
Let's
just,
stick to the list,
I didn't want to
now
forget
we're-
that information, because I
Right.
followed up on that, and I didn't want to lose
No,
my
thank
train
you
of
for
thought.
that, because that's good to know.
Line 5.
What was the disposition with line 4?
I'm sorry, yeah.
I'm a maybe there. Can we circle back to it?
Yes.
Now, line 5, the TST admin assistant from a .75 to a full FTE. The recommendation in my notes here say 75% in 2024, 100% in 2025.
And that won't work if the position is filled.
Right,
And what is the recommendation of the committee?
to fund it, but only at, they say it's 75% in 24. But if it's filled, then,
To say no to the increase,
well, they're,
they already pay it at 100%,
no, they pay it at .75. They're asking to make it a full FTE.
and the committee recommended no.
They recommended phasing it in, but I don't know if they realize that this isn't something you can phase in.
It's either a yes or a no.
So if we say yes, and we give it more administrative support, that's helping mitigate the thing we had to say no to, which was give,
From
increasing
district court.
pay from the, for the leader of that program.
Correct.
So I'm gonna say yes.
Okay. I can go along with that
Two
rationale,
yeses,
if this isn't a
3
classification.
yeses.
It's not a reclass.
It is not a reclass.
Okay.
Line 6 is for professional training and professional development for $10,000 for a district court.
And the recommendation was,
My notes say 1,800 in 2024 and 2,000 in 2025.
That's the kind of thing that we can grant,
Yeah.
like, right?
Right,
Like, I mean, as a reduced
yes,
funding, if we wanted to,
if you wanted to.
rather than.
Didn't we already grant from general fund training?
We just said no to the training program.
said no to the training.
There was a,
No, there was a training and, cause I got voted for that one.
that would have been in, for general fund policy, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
This is more fun when the dog was in.
I know. So yes, there was a training for district court,
12,950.
and there was 2 yeses and a no for that one. and
Yeah.
that was general fund.
So they wanted that and then an additional component from TST.
Right, because they
Yes.
have staff in TSC, so they were looking for equitable training for their whole group, but some people are general fund, some people are training.
Oh, so this would be needed to match what we already granted.
I'm gonna keep it the same. I voted no for that one, so I'll say vote no for this one.
And I said yes before,
But
I
isn't-
guess, so
but
I have to
is-
say
in-
yes. Otherwise, I'm not, I'm only training half the district court.
Well, my position was if this is that little piece that helps. You know, isn't that kind of what you were arguing?
Well, and I was arguing I was arguing that
Training is
training has kind of an
crucial.
outsized
Yeah.
positive impact. I remember Commissioner Mejia was a no on that, but it sounds like
This is a way to,
this is the TST staff corresponding piece of what you and I said yes to.
so, it'd be contradicting myself if I said no now. I
Two
guess.
yeses, I guess, on that.
For
Yeah.
the reduced amount or the 10,000 as it stands,
Oh,
or some other reduced amount?
What was the amount? I thought the amount was 10.
Yes, the request is 10, TST committee recommended about 1,800 in the first year and 2,000
So
in the second.
basically 2,000.
Yeah,
They recommended a fraction of this.
yeah.
Why does this say 10,000? Because district
Because
court
that's
feels
what
they
they
need it.
asked
that's what they
for.
wanted.
Yeah.
So where do you wanna go? With the committee or with the district court?
I'd
Or
almost
nothing?
go with, I would I kinda
Say
wanna
no
go
to
with
anything.
district court because we're knocking them down on the other end of things that we feel is important. So I don't think it's too out of line to try and give them some training.
So
Is that
10.
okay?
At 10.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, next line is for equipment for district court, TST equipment funding. I have that the TST committee recommended 2,500 in the first year and then 1,500 in the second year, slightly lower than the actual ask,
Let's go with the committee on that.
okay?
Okay.
It's a no for me.
Sorry, Commissioner Edwards, 2 yeses, okay?
For the committee recommendation?
I'm good.
For the committee recommendation of 2,500. Okay, juvenile court is line 8, to add TST funding to Hard Sides program for 10,260. TST committee recommended full funding.
It's a contract, so
Contract.
And it's
Yeah.
ongoing.
it's an increase in the contract.
It's been
So
like
3
for
yeses.
Yes.
4 or 5 years or so.
Yes. It's actually been very
More.
effective.
Okay.
So 3 up.
Okay,
So
so
Line
line
9's
9,
already accounted for.
2405,
It is?
did we, this is
it?
public defense.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, no.
Okay. So the TST committee I have, they recommended 50% in the first year and 100% in the second year, assuming that the person they would hire mid-year.
Can we do that?
it's still the full funding impact to the fund. So year over year, you still have growth over the total 100,000. So you might have savings a little bit in the first year as a one-time to go into fund balance, but for this purposes, we would still book the 100,000.
What's the committee say about it?
They say yes.
They wanted full funding. Well, with the reduction in the first year.
Right.
Maybe, yes, no?
I wanna do it, I just don't know if we're gonna run out of money
So
here at some
let's come
point.
back to this.
Yeah, it's a maybe for, I'm wondering, could we fund this starting in 2025 instead?
I'd like to just say that we're gonna start getting towards public health in the next page.
So
And
maybe,
a lot of that,
maybe there isn't
Well,
much.
we can return to this
we
one.
can return
Let's
to
just,
see where
okay,
we are.
say maybe on this, something.
Yeah.
And we've got the hub,
Yeah, we got pretrial services here. They're saying yes, 80% in the first year, 100% in the second.
And is that split possible or no?
You can do that in the first year, right?
Yeah,
That's possible.
basically what they're saying is you won't hire until April, so you won't spend the full amount in the first year,
Right.
and that's reasonable.
So when we balance the financial plan, we'll
We're
here-
doing the, how much are we spending? We're putting in the second year amount, because it's higher.
right.
So it's gonna be 104 and 104.
Yeah. It's gonna be 105. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would recommend we say maybe again, because once we go through the public health here, we can see how many more requests you have before you.
okay,
CST again, this is for, pretrial services, this is for a diversion pretrial services officer. I know they not recommended. But we can put maybe here again,
I'm gonna go with a recommendation for this one.
me too.
okay.
So no.
Yeah,
2 no's, 3 no's.
So I'm gonna ask Jennifer if you wouldn't mind pulling out the sheet and making sure that the rest of these public health we have taken into account in the entire packet. So the first is for a nurse family partnership capacity request, 4022,
Yes, that was included.
so that's already included.
We've got, oh, sorry.
So yeah, that's this right here.
We haven't addressed that first TMBH ASO position.
Which line?
Certified peer counselor at the Thurston County, I don't know what the line it is.
Oh, well, that'll be within, public health requests, so we'll
You
get
said
there.
they weren't, you said TMBH.
They'll be in order with public health, so we'll get them as we
Okay.
go through this.
Yep, so the next one, which is line 13, is that included?
Could you just like shade the ones that we've seen on the chart now, the 280, just pick a color, yeah.
I don't know, I like those. So there
Yes,
we
that
go.
was included.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
included. Added
Out, what amount was that?
at 284, but that's the second, that's line 12.
Okay, and line 13 is where?
That's what we're looking at right
That
now.
would be the 117,
It's
Is that
at
the
117.
or is there
Okay,
120?
so shade it in.
Yep, okay, next one.
So 34023 that we just did. Okay, turn page.
So line 14, I have not recommended, so is that one in there?
B4024, it was included in David's packet
B
yesterday.
4023,
B4023, that was included in David's packet yesterday also.
so this was included in his packet, but it's not recommended.
The 3 FTEs?
Line 14, the nurse family partnership and maternal child health division support capacity.
Yeah, and that's,
So the board said yes to it yesterday,
Yes, the board.
and is it one of the amounts on your
No, I need
list
to, I'm
there?
gonna include it.
it's, well, that's 3 FTEs. How much is that gonna be?
Yep, and shade it in.
Next one.
Okay,
What's the dollar amount for that one?
180,000.
Well, how's that possible? It's 3 FTEs.
Line 14.
Oh, your nurses will say it's because you don't pay them enough.
Well, that's not enough for 3 full-time positions.
It doesn't include 3 nurses, it only includes 1 nurse. It includes an administrative assistant, and then it includes a public health program assistant.
Yes, and a nurse,
And a nurse, 1
and
nurse,
a nurse too.
correct. 1 nurse, 1 admin, in the second year only, and then 1 public health program assistant that begins in July of 2024.
And we're gonna get all that for how much money?
$180,000 ongoing.
Is that real?
Yeah, it's
Allegedly.
run through
It's run through.
HR.
That's run through the payroll, like,
Yeah,
all right, payroll stuff, yeah.
benefits and everything.
Yep.
So 15, is
Line
line
15?
15
How-
up there
4024.
for nurse-family partnership?
So I'm lying to you, I'm misspeaking. The only portion of this request that is actually TST is the nurse. The other 2 positions are in 1,500.
Oh, okay, so then
Okay,
we're getting back to some,
then it's 181,000 just for a nurse.
Correct.
Okay,
and then that, I was gonna ask that question too. Isn't that too much?
well, apparently not. Because
Things
according to
weren't
your
jiving in
nurses,
my
you don't
head.
pay them enough.
Something wasn't fitting.
There might be, let me look to see.
So while you look that up,
I'm gonna keep going.
keep going down the
Yeah,
list.
so line
Nicole.
15 is included, that's B 4024. Line 16
16,
is 4025, that's included, that's for 117. Line 17,
Hey, as you do that, can you give the change request number?
yes, so line 17 is B 4026.
26 or 36?
B4026.
This is a reclass, so that is not included.
I don't even see it in here.
Yeah, it's not in there.
So
If you
it's a
remember,
headache when
David gave
stuff
us 2 of
is
these
supposed to be
sheets.
there.
One was just new FTE and one included everything.
Oh, we found B 4026.
Yay.
It's priority 17, all the way down at the end.
Number 17. It's not,
And it's a reclass and
so. we're
And
saying
it's a
no to
reclass to
reclasses.
senior program manager.
we're saying no to reclasses.
We already told him yes. So, but he hasn't hired him yet, so.
That's right.
So yes, so now we're saying. Line 18, which is B 4029. Retention and infrastructure at BHSO for 410. 4029, I'm looking on
This
the-
covers COLAs.
And 90,000 was what was recommended by the TST advisory board, per year for COLAs, basically.
Yeah, this package includes a 6% COLA for front staff and benefits associated. So this is not included, that's what we're going through, right?
That is correct, it is not included.
So are we gonna talk about these, or you're just compiling a list of what we're gonna talk about?
This is the first one that we realized
We
is
were
not
just
included.
working through the public health ones that you already said yes to, and now we've gotten to the first one in a while that you'd not
Included,
considered yet.
So we'll double back to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then 4030, B 4030, which is line 19.
And that's,
The peer.
we did not cover that yesterday, that is on this sheet.
The peer
So we'll
counselor,
return back to that one.
yeah, that's your peer counselor, it's not included.
Return. The rest of them are all not public health, so what are those additional? So you've shaded in blue the ones that were public health.
Mhm.
Everything after that are the ones that the board said yes to this morning.
This morning, yes.
So now we need to go back to you've got 261,000 left to spend.
Unless we take away a public health position.
Yes.
Right. So that brings us back to, we wanna go back to maybe, so page 4.
Honestly, to public health, with all that funding from foundational public health,
And
wanna be
suck up all
scraping
the
for a bone from
TST.
all these other needs. If we run out of money, I'm gonna be looking at one of
I
the public
would
health
agree with
positions
that.
from TST.
So
They
my-
shouldn't be able to get all that foundational public health money and then suck up half of TST as well.
I think the difference though is that with foundational public health, there's like no support for like nurse-family partnership. And there's no other funding for nurse-family partnership. And, you know, if we're going to be like setting this straight playing field for disease and prevention and control and all these other different departments, and then we're just gonna leave nurse-family partnership just kind of lagging behind and not having the support that they need, like, to me, it's also leaving them at a disadvantage, specifically knowing that they have a huge backlog of cases that they've just haven't been able to get through and work through because there's this huge need in the community. We have a letter from Providence with their concerns about this, and we've heard from Gretchen about the acuity of cases and how that's kind of risen, and so that's kind of why I'm advocating for this. It's not understanding that there is major budget constraints, but I feel like we've made the investment with foundational public health to put the other departments in kind of that equal playing field, but unfortunately, nurse-family partnership is not, it didn't fit in one of those buckets, and so they kind of just are out there.
Well, there's 4 new FTEs here, and one of them was not recommended by the TST Advisory Committee, so I'm not saying I won't support that. Hopefully I will, but if I get pinched, that would be the one I would look to.
So the one that wasn't recommended for funding, it was because they thought there was other funding out there that would cover nurses was the conversation.
Materialize, is
But
that
there just isn't any other funding. And so they thought that for a community health nurse, there would be another bucket that they could get it from. And these are the conversations that I've had with David. It's like, well, is there another bucket that we could fund community health nurses from? And there really just isn't.
So are you advocating taking what's left and putting nurse public funding, or nurse, family?
I'm just advocating for the positions that were kind of put forward by David on this. I understand that it kind of looks unfair, but I feel like if we're making this investment in public health, right, with foundational public health and all these other different sectors, that it's also, then we're looking at, a program that does preventative care, that is supporting mothers, that is supporting children out in the community, and we're leaving that one.
Commissioner Media, we cannot use foundational public health for any direct services, so they can't use it
Yeah,
for nurse
so
family
that's, yeah.
partnerships.
Okay, so how about this? This kind of falls in line with my kids are 30% of the population, but 100% of our future, so I'll back you up on your move to make sure that we fund what we can with, the family partnership business or wherever it needs to go, okay? I'm with you. But we gotta figure out how
We
that's
gotta
gonna
figure
fit.
out how that's gonna fit. That's,
So,
and we haven't even gone through the
I may
list.
be with you, I just don't know if it all fits. If it all fits, cool. If it doesn't though, I mean,
That's when hard choices. are made.
treatment sales tax is about, direct and I focus more on that piece. I understand that if there's a nexus to nurse-family partnership, but it's not quite as direct. I mean, there's a lot of new funding going there already, but we'll see.
I'm just trying to help you see what these requests were for.
I'm not sure how many we
Okay,
have
I'm going
left.
home, you've got my proxy.
Except for the rest of the day, because we got a lot of other things to go through.
I'm just kidding. Wishful thinking.
All right,
Okay,
so,
so if we go back, starting with our maybes, that's page 4.
Did we get through the rest of them?
Think better.
the rest, those are more, everything else was a return. So, and all the rest after public health was the EHASO. So we're returning back to the top.
Which I think is page 4, line 4, for district court, TST court assistant 1. At about $93,000.
How much money's left after all the things we've already said yes to?
216,000 is all that's left. So the remaining items.
261 or 216?
261.
216.
Like this right here,
You're saying two different things.
right here, 261.
Pardon, 261.
Okay, and
Sorry.
we've got the social worker for public defense, we've got the resource hub assistant, we've got the district court, mental health court assistant, are those the three? And we've got this BHO request about the certified peer
BHO
counselor,
items.
that's 4.
I don't even know where we're at right now, I'm sorry.
Are those the only 4 that are left?
No,
Hey,
there's
thanks,
all the
Jennifer.
BHO items.
Yeah, there's.
But we said no to the 2 of them,
You've already said no to which two?
the ones that the committee were not recommending for funding,
And
which
which
is
two are those, please?
the substance abuse disorder professional, B 4031, and B 4034. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were saying,
34.
30, that would be on page 11. of this
Okay.
packet.
So there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 BHASO items.
okay, I only see 1 on the FTE sheet, so where are the rest of them?
If you look at page 10, you've got the retention and workforce,
Oh, yeah, right.
retention and infrastructure,
518.
and the certified peer counselor on page 11.
Yep, that's the one I was
You've got the
identifying.
non-Medicaid WISE slots and the case management for rental assistance.
So do we start on, do we go through
So
We don't have enough
you've
money.
got to,
18, 19, because we haven't gone through those.
No,
So we need to go through them. Okay, starting on number 18, which is,
page 10,
The 410,000.
yeah. And you were saying that the committee has recommended significantly less than this.
That's what you said, right?
That is what I said. How much less?
90,000 is
90.
what they're.
Thank you.
I have it here.
Oh, yeah, right here, 90,000. And it's for COLAs.
yeah, this one just stuck out to me as, I mean, every single department, every single employee is, we've heard from our unions, we've heard from everyone that everyone's underpaid. This is an odd, just like a one-off, let's just pick one group of people and give them 6% COLAs when not everyone else is getting anything like that.
So the Board of County Commissioners does not approve COLAs for the BHASO.
Well, they're
This
asking
would
us for
do,
money to do that?
so the BHASO can approve 6% if that's what they so choose. But the Board of County Commissioners is being asked to fund that 6%. You don't need to do that. If they choose to give a 6% increase to their employees, and then they need to come up with the money to do so. It doesn't necessarily need to come from Thurston County.
I have to, I
Now,
have to
two of
agree
you
with
sit on that board, so I don't know what
Well, that's what we're thinking.
you
I
may
think.
have committed to when you were taking action on
We
the
didn't know it was
executive
coming.
board of the BHASO.
We did approve the retention and recruitment plan. But I don't
Was
know,
it dependent on this?
I don't know if it was dependent on this.
I don't know. What was it discussed?
That's a whole nother operation. Separate from the county.
What's going on not in this
Well,
one.
there isn't I mean, there
We
isn't
don't have the money.
There's not,
We just don't
$110,000
have.
to do.
correct.
And if there's 90,000, even if there were 90,000 to do it, and there goes public defense's request, there goes, nurse or whatever.
Yep,
So I don't think we can,
none of it. So,
none of it.
okay, so none, and I got those, Commissioner Mejia, you're there as well. All right,
Okay, so the next is the peer counselor for the HSO, $85,000.
This was recommended for funding in 2025
Yes.
by the committee.
I don't know where they're getting their total funding from, but what are they at now? 140 FTEs over there?
We don't have enough money
No.
for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy right now.
2, 3 no's to this.
It's gonna be dependent on the two colleagues who sit on the HSO on.
It's one of those things kind of, I mean, not quite like foundational public health, but I mean, they have funding streams that are new. They're adding staff left
Like,
and
you
right.
can't
because of
believe, we can't even
new
keep up
program, a
with
new
the
focus.
staff.
So I mean, we're scraping, this is a funding source that the county created, and I want to prioritize county needs.
I'm with you. Yep.
Got line 21,
Line 20, right? That was
yeah,
line 20.
wrap around with intensive services.
Wait,
We didn't do 20 yet,
we didn't do
right?
20 yet.
Not recommended, but,
20 was not recommended, I thought they already went with that recommendation.
Yeah,
line 20?
yep,
Yeah, so that's a no,
that's a no.
Okay.
We haven't talked about whys though,
right?
and that's kind of I don't know what the committee said on that one.
What did the committee say on that?
I have 116,000 for 2 slots.
They want 4 slots and they're recommending 2 slots.
About
But do we have money to do it?
Individualized care plan treatment for youth who are at risk of entering juvenile justice system due to severe mental health, behavioral health challenges, or substance abuse. Team-based approach to services available to under 21. Slots for non-Medicaid and Medicaid and eligible folks. That continues to be a wait list for services. So the wait list for services consists of 20 youth and families. The length of service is 9 to 12 months. I mean, to me, this is analogous to nurse-family partnership. You're connecting to families, kids, preventive.
It's my understanding that this is an extremely effective program.
Maybe we can give them 1 slot at least. I don't know.
It's 1 instead of 4 or 1 instead of 2?
Well, the request is 4, the recommendation is 2.
I do not know much about this program, so.
It's a good program.
Is it?
It's kind of like what nurse-family partnership does with moms.
Yeah.
It's doing with like at-risk youth, creating a wraparound intensive treatment program, working with them
Figuring
on
out exactly what they need and making sure they're.
severe mental health.
Let's add this to the maybe pile and then we can have more discussion on it.
Doesn't this process that they're asking about, isn't this pretty much identical to what juvenile court is trying to do as well in lieu of incarceration?
This is a service that juvenile court provides to,
And,
court-involved youth.
Yeah, I mean, it almost is like we're doubling up on, we're going to,
And these youth are probably not
maybe not, they're
court-involved.
quite yet
They're not,
there.
they're not quite
Yeah,
there yet. This
so
is getting them before
Hopefully
they
it
get
gets
involved.
them
in the
before they're in the system, which is a very good thing.
Okay, well,
So we'll come back to this one.
Okay.
The next one is 20,000 for what? What would
Housing
20,000
case
buy
management,
us?
rental
Nicole?
assistance, for rental assistance,
boy,
for housing case management.
we're already doing a lot for rental
So I'm wondering, why is this not like a regional housing council, something that they can request instead of treatment sales tax?
Yeah,
They're saying, yeah, I mean, I do. Basically, this is just like a maintenance, this is like the last sentence, this budget request is to increase the amount to house individuals with the rising cost of rent. So it's kind of like just an inflation
and it's temporary.
adjustment for the current level of rent assistance, but I don't know that we can afford to do it.
So this is 0 to 3, and the
last line.
BHASO can apply to the Regional Housing Council for funding.
And the last is for the reentry specialist, $100,000. This was not
That's a
recommended.
0 to 3 because it's not recommended by, all right. So now we're left with, still have $261,000.
Yes.
Which one were the maybes?
TSC Court Assistant 1 for District Court.
Which line item?
So it's on page 4, line 4.
Or that's a maybe,
How much? Just give us a dollar.
93,000.
Okay.
Social
Public defense.
work
Social
program
work.
expansion, that's 100,000.
Okay.
And then the TST Hub Operations Assistant, that's 105.
Resource hub. Okay.
And I think that,
Did we do,
The WISE program.
did we do the
And
nurse,
the-
did we decide on the nurse family partnership one?
I
Number
thought
12.
that was yes.
It's yes for now, yeah.
And
I mean, we
then-
did those.
Sorry, I just didn't have the mark on.
The Y slots, there was up to 240, but we could reduce that.
Right.
right,
So if they did all 4 of those, how much would they be over?
okay, you just asked me for the numbers. I gotta put them in, sorry.
Yep, 550. So it's about double what we had. A little more, a little less than double what the money is. We could, but if we dropped Ys down to say, if we did 2 slots, let's just say,
120.
then we're at 3, we're at 425.
These are numbers I told you, because I'm rounding. Make sure I round it the same way from the last number I told you, Commissioner.
Enter 120 for the last one, Nicole.
Enter how much?
120. How much are we over? 160,000.
I'll tell you what my 260 is gonna be. Public defense, resource hub, and 1 slot for Ys. That equals 265.
Give me a sec, I'm trying to see if with the nurse, the family nurse, from the community health nurse, if that can be matched with Medicaid for a couple of years, so I'm trying to,
Bring that cost down.
yeah, to try to bring that cost down, so I'm trying to, I just texted David to see if that was a possibility. I think that's the, it was one of the 120s. I think it's number 13.
Division support capacity?
Yeah, it's the, I think that's the one, yeah, divisional support capacity, it's the community health nurse.
So line 14, 13 and 14.
Just line 13. Line 13.
Page 7, 13.
Not, well, if either Corinne or David are paying attention, is that a position that can we do like a Medicaid match for that for a couple of years?
Jennifer's gonna Teams and see if we can get some kind of.
Okay.
The answer should be
Da-
yes.
David said, I think it would be eligible, I would be comfortable.
Yes.
So
would-
then, let's do that. Let's do it with the Medicaid
So
match.
Medicaid match for admin is at 50%. I think it's still at 50%.
I'm teaching him, so if he's texting you,
No,
You said
right,
yes already. You said yes, right? 50%?
Yeah, so cut that in half.
Are we eating in here today?
Yeah. That's why we ordered you lunch. So now we're down to 100,000 over.
Putting how much for the live?
122 slots.
Okay, that works for me.
And so my question to the budget team is, could the fund bear that extra 100,000? So let's take a break
Yeah.
and
There'll be some
get
sort of
our
plan.
lunches, and we'll figure out if we think this could pencil out.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a 20-minute, 30-minute?
12:45?
Yeah, 12:45.